Hello out there. I go by Stevie the Blessed, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for pressing play if you decided to. I don't know what it was that caught your attention, but may the comments bless you with the wanting and the hunger to keep going. I'm going to ask for a little bit of your time tonight as I introduce something that is brand new in my journey, and hopefully will just take off as I feel so many souls could be involved with this movement that will continue to just affirm positive change on a humanitarian level. I'm so excited for this. What I'm doing today, I'm launching a series that I'm planning to keep on doing called L.I.T. So this L.I.T series stands for Let's Imagine Together. So if I can emphasize any letter, although they all matter, together, that T is so important. I've been grounding myself in a lot of spiritual practices and spiritual concepts. So this is going to be really grounded and rooted in consciousness and spirituality and all these topics that a lot of people might tend to avoid, but that's going to be the highlight of my discussion today. I'm very excited about that. So I look forward to this journey, and I expect it to be very interactive as it continues to evolve. So those of you who know me, I'm very much so shedding a whole new light in what I do. I'm also a rapper, and I consider myself an activist in many ways. The rap and the music is so beautiful. It's a great way to get engaged with the people. However, the kind of things that I really want to dive into and speak to, I need the freedom of this kind of platform to really get that concept across. So I hope that my fans or people who have appreciated me and shown me so much love, which there's been so many people, God bless you. I hope that you will follow me as I continue to make this new step in expressing myself. I really need you, and as I ask that you will take this journey and this new step of hopefully growth, recognize that you're providing me with the gift of growth, because I know that this is going to be the next step in going forward with how I plan to make my imprint on uplifting the consciousness of mankind. Whew, that's a big concept today. So with that being said, you know what? I'm a real person. So I really hope to appeal to people who may not have ever considered themselves spiritual, but maybe believed in God or felt a little deep, felt a little something stirring in their soul their whole life. So, it's not about being that cookie cutter person. It's about recognizing where your power lies. It's about recognizing that there's something higher, bigger than us, that connects us all, that can help us to connect to a higher, more conscious, more united way of living, which if you can honestly say that you don't think we need that in the world, I guess you probably gonna skip and move on. That's all I can say. But my goal is to touch as many people as possible with a positive message. So basically the structure of how these series are gonna go, I'm asking you to give me a gift, and at the same time I'm asking that you will take this gift for yourself. So it's gonna be one day out of every week for a year that I'm asking for as I basically start this series. I'm asking that you share this video with as many people as you can. I never ever ask people to share stuff of mine, but I'm asking to share this because I think that this is going to be a big step in how I feel like we can make a movement together. The world needs it. It needs us. We owe this to ourselves. We owe this to the next generations. We owe this to our grandchildren. We owe this to ourselves. So I'm really, really excited, and I ask that you will see that this is a gift, and the time that I'm asking for basically breaks down to 15-minute videos. That's what I plan to do. Usually going to be on Sundays, 15-minute videos where I go over concepts and I speak about certain things, some concepts that I'm just inspired about, and that I plan to speak to. And as we continue to go forward, I expect to get messages and comments and reviews and people who have other things that they'd also like to be addressed and brought up. So it's going to continue to evolve as time goes. I'm very open to that. I'm very excited for that. I cannot say excited enough if you haven't heard that word at least 5 times by now. So that's only half a day though. So when you add up 15 minutes once a week for a year, it's only going to be 12 hours. So the other 12 hours, the other part of this day that I'm asking for is going to be for you to dedicate 15 minutes back to yourself. So at the end of every series that I'll do, which will be 15 minutes long, I will talk about spiritual homework, a practice that we can bring to life, all these things that we speak to. It's so great to talk about God and concepts that can help you elevate your mind and open your mind. But if you don't feel like you have a way to bring it to life, to change your daily routine that can support a new way of living, then it can seem out of touch. It can seem too far off in the distance. So that 15 minutes that you're gifting back to yourself, that is so important. And it can be 3 times a week, 5 minutes a day. Like literally 5 minutes a day for 3 times a week. Or if you want to powerhouse it and just take one day a week that you're doing that 15 minutes at once, I will have basically 2 to 3 different spiritual practices that I will kind of offer up for us to work on throughout the week. And hopefully people will leave comments about their experience when they do the spiritual practice. We can just kind of reflect on that as we continue to do videos together, because I feel like this is a together kind of thing. I can feel hearts out there just kind of feeling warmed up and stirred up that somebody might end up speaking about things that they've been wondering about, or that they might have been thinking, because I feel like this is kind of innate. So this gift is a day, literally a day out of a year that I'm asking that you give yourself. And I'm really asking from the bottom of my heart as I'm looking at how we can uplift the world right now. So why not experiment with something? I feel like at this point, if it's love rooted, we could give it a try. So essentially, like I said, the structure is going to be 15 minutes, one day a week. I will start off with some probing questions to get you thinking about the topic at hand. I will go from there into really just an intro, a little purpose statement. So every day, if I have a new person kind of signing on, they haven't watched any other videos, they kind of know the concept of why I'm doing what I'm doing. After that, I'll go into the topic itself. We'll kind of dive into that. As I wrap up and go to the end of it, I will make sure to kind of leave a little reminder that this is an interactive thing. So leave comments as long as they're polite, courteous, respectful. Like, I'm all about engaging, even if you don't quite get it or you don't quite understand or even agree, as long as it's a courteous involvement. Like, I will go back and forth and we can really make this interactive. After that little reminder, I will end with what's called an affirmative prayer. So it'll just be a quick snapshot of me visualizing, speaking, and affirming the truth, which is rooted in God, rooted in love, and rooted in that power of nothing but beauty and serenity. So that's going to be cool. And then lastly, I'll leave you with, like I said, the spiritual homework, and I will also leave you with some kind of affirmation. So the affirmation will be a short statement that you can say to yourself once a day at least for the rest of the week that will really affirm and kind of lock in and keep that seed planted in what we covered that day. So I am going to really just embrace this opportunity to connect with the world. And I'm like, if we can share videos about how about dad, I'm pretty sure you can open up to being inspired by a stranger and share something that has changed my entire life. So without further ado, this very first talk today is called Stay Woke. Reason being, well, what do you think? We talk about consciousness here, people. So I'm talking about waking up. And since this is my very first one, I think it's only fair that I kind of give the people a background of why. Like, why am I talking about this? Why am I here? People probably wondered who listen to my music, like, why is she so spiritual? Like, why does she talk about God all the time? My life was never perfect. And there's been so many periods throughout my life where I felt disconnected to spirit, to source, to this spirituality that I'm so happy to have, like, being drenched in my life right now. So I know that people have to kind of be wondering, other than why am I spiritual? What exactly do I believe when it comes to God and spirituality? And then lastly, I'm just kind of asking, what wake-up calls have you had? Like, what caused you to maybe think about spirituality once before? And if you haven't, then can you look back and think about maybe little wake-up calls that you have gotten? I'm sorry, I'm flipping pages here. Like I said, I'm not a cookie cutter person. This is my first video series. I'll probably work out some kind of something to flip these pages on my notes, but we're going to keep it moving. So, I guess for me, it's really important to say my little intro is going to be, I believe that knowledge is a gift, time is a gift, money is a gift, support is a gift. When we get these gifts from other people, it is so important that we pay it forward. There are certain things that I believe in. One of them is called the law of circulation. And as I get all this knowledge that I feel like literally has been concepts and ideas and practices that have changed my life, I literally am feeling this obligation on my karmic levels that I need to pay this forward and share these ideas in a hip way with people that are young, that are still trying to live their lives, that are still trying to have fun, turn up, get lit, whatever it is, and still feel grounded in something deeper. And that is so important to me. So this is my way to pay it forward. And I am thanking you once again for taking on this gift of giving me your time, and give that gift back to yourself by doing that spiritual homework once a week or a few times a week for 15 minutes. That being said, if you feel like you partially woke already, you can do more than a day. Like, you can do a couple days where you're doing 15 minutes and kind of get a little bit ahead of the game and see those results even quicker. So that being said, When it comes to my beliefs, I have a Christian background. You hear me say Christ a lot in my music. But that being said, I've become very non-denominational. I believe that there's been so many different paths to God. I would be very, very, very hard for me to just accept one way to God when God shows up as us, through us, and whatever way that we're going to be able to perceive it. So I am non-denominational. When I say God, I want people to know, like, that's my word that I identify with for a higher power, an infinite source of love, power that creates. It's the life affirming principle that is non-physical, that is still intelligent in every way. So people call it spirit, some people call it universe, some people call it higher self. Whatever word works for you, accept it. I say God a lot, I say Christ, I say Christ consciousness. That's semantics, and it's not worth getting caught up on. At heart, we still identify with that higher power that we know we're connected to, and I believe that. So use what word, supplement what word works for you. That's going to be really, really important as I continue to go on. I do believe that this God works through a series of laws. We've been given this power of choice and volition, and in order for that to be possible, there has to be, in my opinion, some principle or power that will respond to and operate based upon our interaction with it. So that being said, if you feel like you don't identify with God, and you've never identified with God, and you don't feel very spiritual, that does not necessarily, and it will never exclude you from being subject to the laws of how God works through the universe, through people. So the best way I can describe it is, in my opinion, like, the law always says yes. So whatever you're thinking of is basically the order that you're giving to the waiter at the restaurant, whether you're thinking about how sad you are, how tired you are, how fat you are, whether you're thinking about how happy you are or how lucky you are. Those are all orders that you're giving to your waiter. No matter what it is on the list, he is going to come back, she is going to come back with that delivery of what you put out there. That is how the law works. We as God beings speak it, and then it is given back to us. So even though it's negative things that can come forth of that, if it weren't for that, we wouldn't really have the power of choice if only certain things we chose could come to life. And that being said, another firm belief of me, I don't believe God is some man that is sitting there in the sky, some being that just decides who to answer prayers for and who not to. I believe that what we put out there in every way of thinking is our prayer. So we have to recognize how we have attracted subconsciously or consciously different things within our life. And God is not just choosing who to say yes to and who to say no to. So that is really, really important to me. With that being said, I also think it's really important that I cover a little bit of things around thoughts, and I spoke to it just a little bit there, but I can't stress enough, like, our main way of interacting with the power of creation is through our thoughts. Everything starts in our mind. We can say words, we can do things, but everything starts initially with a thought. So your feelings, your emotions, whether it be fear or faith, feed the process of how quickly those thoughts will manifest. So I cannot stress that enough as far as my beliefs. Even in the Bible, which I don't accept 120%, but there's some things that can kind of be referenced that make sense. It says that God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Like, that right there speaks to the power of creation through affirming and speaking, which we absolutely have that power. So when it comes to what led me to this path, it's a beautiful nightmare, if I may even say. It's not always a pretty wake-up call or stay woke alert, but I caught it, that's for sure. So as a kid, I was always really, really avid about dreaming. I always had really good dreams or really bad dreams, but they were always very vivid, and I could always remember them to a certain extent. And as I grew older, that's something that didn't really seem to fade away. I watched Inception in 2010. I don't know if you've seen it with Leonardo DiCaprio, but that movie kind of really just changed my life. I started to think about lucid dreaming and believe I can control my dreams because I've always remembered my dreams. And before you knew it, my dream experience did a 180-degree change. And I'm starting to manipulate my dreams and recognize in my dream time how my thoughts, if I can remember that I'm dreaming and recognize it's not real, would literally change exactly what I'm experiencing in the dream in live time. And it was crazy for me. But before I knew it, based on, I feel like, my vibration at the time, I started to experience what is called sleep paralysis. I didn't know it then, but after doing some research and hearing some things from some friends that I had kind of been consulting with, I realized that that's what it was. So sleep paralysis, in a GIF, basically is the opposite of sleep walking. So if you know what sleepwalking is, during that process of sleepwalking, there's a major hormone that is basically released through the entire body that paralyzes your major muscles, so that way you don't act out physically what you're dreaming of, and that way you're still in dream time. But basically when you're sleepwalking, that hormone dissolves, so you're able to move and use those major muscles even though your mind's still asleep. What I was experiencing is the opposite. So the sleep paralysis is when that hormone actually stays active and you're still paralyzed, yet your mind is fully awake as if it's time to start the day. Technically, since you're still in a sleep state and your body's still secreting those sleep hormones, you are prone to hallucinations and all those other crazy things that can happen within dream time. So for me, it felt so realistic. It got so bad where I felt like I was getting attacked. I was having like really terrific, terrifying experiences to where I wouldn't want to sleep. And I'm really, really big on getting your rest, and believe that. But I couldn't sleep. I was afraid to go to sleep because the experiences were so bad. So it got to the point where I started doing some research, and it was around that time I got my first smartphone, and I was really like research heavy. Interesting enough, I also had come across some bracelets at a store I was working at, and they were all beaded. They were like natural stones, and they correlated with certain astrological signs. And I was kind of into astrology. If you're not, doesn't really make a difference as far as the point. But what I recognized was the one that was for my sign. The stone had certain properties that seemed to heal things that I could probably use. So the one that was for Cancer, which is for me, was focused on fear, like relieving fear and helping one to feel protected. And that like spoke to me in every single way. So I eventually was going through so much that I was like, you know what, it cannot hurt. So I absolutely will try it. And I ended up buying a whole bunch for my family. And it was funny to see how even the attributes for their signs end up being benefits for them and kind of relevant for them too. So it kind of started from there. I got it into like these different crystals, which got them covered, but I still believe in the beautiful, beautiful crystal therapy, and that has taken me very far as feeling like I can heal and raise my vibration. But it just shifted from there. I ended up meeting a medium, and medium. And worked with her, did a lot of different spiritual work alongside her, and met other mediums along the line, and started doing a lot of different spiritual practices with spiritual leaders and teachers, and just felt like I was finding my roots again. More recently, I've started taking classes to get different spiritual licenses, so I'm definitely brewing up things that have continued to fill this path. But for me, that was a huge wake-up call. It was not a pretty experience, but it took that for me to recognize like something is off balance, and what can I do to support getting back on track. And it's interesting. It's interesting how it's evolved and where I'm at, and I'm excited on where I'm going. But as I think about my past, that was a big wake-up call, but they have not stopped coming. Now I recognize them a little bit sooner, so it's a little bit easier for me to kind of hop on board with what I need to work on without it becoming something that's so shaky. But I challenge you to think about the different wake-up calls that have come forth in your life. I want you to think about maybe the most recent wake-up call that you've had in your life. It's not always easy to think of it like that, but an author that I was coming across, she had basically said that the universe is not short on wake-up calls. We're just quick to hit the snooze button. And why did that just sound so absolutely right and resonate so much? Something about this philosophy that I will say is it takes a lot of ownership, and ownership is power, but you have to be willing to be honest with yourself on kind of where your mindset's been, where your attitude has been, maybe what past experiences are still shaping and kind of having influence on how you perform and act and behave today. So it's not easy to look in the mirror, but it's the most beautiful thing that you could do at the end of the day. And that being said, if I could share a quick little example, something that recently was a wake-up call for me outside of that one back in the day was me moving to where I'm at now. Like, I'm pretty young. I just bought a home. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I'm absolutely blessed for what I have come across here. I was living with my roommate prior to this, and we were best friends in high school, so it was a really good experience, and I absolutely loved it there. It was affordable. I loved my house. I had a really nice room, And it just kind of got to a point where I was feeling my spirituality and everything would kind of be taken to the next level when I moved on and got my own place. And I was comfortable there, so I wasn't really ready to make the move. It felt kind of risky. It was kind of young, so I was kind of avoiding it. And then something came up, and she ended up telling me that she was going to be moving out of state. it broke my heart. I was so scared. I was thinking like, damn, now I have to move out and live by myself. And so I went back and forth on this idea of living alone, and I had to really chew on it, because at first I did not like the idea, and I was really, really terrified. And it was funny and ironic, because by the time I finally warmed up to the idea and I was thinking, well, that could be kind of cool, then she told me, false alarm, she's actually going to end up staying. So we continued to live together, and I kind of just let the idea go. But it's interesting because I never, at the root of me, let that idea go. And I continued to feel little nudges after that said that it was maybe still time for me to make that move and move on. And I didn't. And needless to say, some stuff started happening. It really seemed to come out of the blue. And without any details, like this drama that was completely unrelated to me started trickling into my life so heavily that I literally felt like it was a slap in the face with a 2x4 saying, move on, move on. And it got to the point where I literally had to move. I felt like my safety was telling me, if you want to continue to feel secure, you got to go. And I waited till that point, but here I am, and it was one of the best things I could have ever done. But you know, those wake-up calls will keep coming when it's something that's no longer serving us that we could work on and heal. So it's a beautiful thing at the end of it, but that's what kind of inspired me and has continued to inspire me to think about those wake-up calls. And I think if we can see those, we can recognize an opportunity to heal something and to move on to another stage in our own evolution, which to me is the goal. So you know, it's coming towards the end of the video. With that being said, I hope you kind of think about some of those concepts as far as those stay woke alerts, because we are working on staying woke as a species. That's what I'm talking about. We stay lit. We keep that fire lit. Let's imagine together. Remember, at the end of this video, I encourage you to leave some comments, be respectful. If you want to message me instead, then I'm absolutely fine with that. Give me some ideas of what you want to hear on these next Sundays, because like I said, I'm planning on doing one video a month for the rest of the year, and we'll have some different spiritual practices that will kind of go with that we will rotate and work on. So other than that, I just would ask that you maybe take a deep breath as I go through this next little part here, and I think about that connectedness to that higher self that helps us to recognize those signs and the foreshadowing events of life that help us to wake up to that next stage. And I know I believe in this power. I believe in this power, this universal spirit of God that is ever expanding. I believe that this power is within the entire world and everybody within the world, just as it is within me. And with that being said, I know that power is waking up the world every minute of every day to a higher perception. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for knowing that. I'm grateful for feeling that in my heart. And I ask that we can all just bask in that gratitude of this wake up that's happening, and we let it go knowing that it is already complete on so many levels, and we just have to step into it with ease and with effort and know that that is our path. So that being said, our spiritual practice that I'm going to offer up for you to join me in this week will either be a dream diary, you could probably guess. So basically, when it comes to the dream diary, just have a little notepad, something you can dedicate towards this, maybe journaling and dreaming, because those will be things that come up a lot, that you can do either 15 minutes a week. So take 5 minutes, 3 nights a week, or really if you've had a crazy dream, then spend 15 minutes writing down in detail what happened in that dream. But dream recall is so important. So much healing happens in our dreams, healing that our subconscious mind can kind of get past that you probably don't want to deal with when you're awake. So I think that the dream journal could be really awesome for you. You could mix it up and also just add in some regular journaling. So really just at the end of your day, reflecting on what you're appreciative of, and maybe where you let your mind slip a little bit more. So just regular journaling is also just as healing as the dream diary is. And lastly, the thing that I had offered up was a mirror affirmation. So basically, a mirror affirmation is when you take the statement that I'm getting ready to give you, that affirmation for the week, and you say it to yourself as you're looking at yourself deeply into the mirror. I'm saying really connect with your eyes, connect with that soul, look deeply at yourself and say this affirmation 3 times. Do that a couple times a week, build that up to your 15 minutes. I wouldn't suggest doing that for 15 minutes, but you can mix that in with some of the other spiritual homework that I'm giving you. I want to give you some options so I can keep it up. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did plan on this video being about 10 minutes over than the 15 minutes. Reason being, it's my first one. I want everybody to have a nice intro, nice meat and potatoes around what it is that this whole lit movement is all about. I want this movement to be us. It's not about me. And if I could say anything, it's not about popularity, fame, nothing. It's about changing the world, and you can start with yourself. And as you continue to share this, you're giving somebody else that gift to start with themselves. That's how we can change the world. We can't always change another person, but if we can commit to upgrading ourselves, that is the wave that will start. I'm so, so grateful for this time to have shared this little speech with my friends and family. Hopefully that you will get on YouTube and share it. You'll get on your Facebook and share it. And you'll just invite people to step into something that stands for something higher. So my affirmation today is I see infinite signs of love around me every day. I'm going to say it one more time. Very clear. You can easily remember it. You maybe write it down and stick it on your mirror. I see infinite signs of love around me every day. It is that simple. I'm so thankful for this time. I will be plotting on what this next topic is, although I might already have it in mind. And I wish you nothing but peace and blessings. Namaste.